Hey guys, so after playing with Gauss for a little while, he's pretty good. For a Warframe that's designed around running and moving, he's surprisingly well-rounded. He can do a lot of things. He's not a Zephyr or a Volt. In this video, I'm going to show you my melee Gauss build, and to me, personally, I feel like Gauss is the best feeling melee frame in the game. It's not because of damage output or anything like that, but because he's able to close the gap instantly. You might not value closing the gap, but think of it this way. So the whole reason why Temple Royale is very popular is not because of its multipliers, because Cleveland Whirlwind has better multipliers, even though Temple Royale has one combo that has 500%, but even then it's one hit and it's a slam. The whole reason that stance is popular is because of the block combo that can easily close the gap, making that class of weapons more mobile. The same thing goes for Blind Justice with Nakanas, even though Tranquil Cleave has a finisher combo that makes Nakanas do a lot of damage. But what if you didn't have to do that anymore? And that's what Gauss brings to the table as far as melee frames go. And I know that Ash has a teleport, but the thing is there's like a delay before you can hit the enemy, and you open them up to a finisher, so it's kind of slow. But with Gauss, there's no delay. You can do a dash with your one and then immediately hit, and then dash into another group of enemies and then immediately wipe them out. And playing like that is very fast and it's very, very fun. So let's talk about his passive and his abilities. So his passive is the little battery thing, and on top of that, he also gets 80% faster recharge rate on his shields when he's sprinting, and his first ability counts as sprinting, as well as reducing the delay to when they actually start recharging by 80% as well. It means that we basically want to build Gauss for shields for the most part. We don't really want to build him for health because he can't generate shields or over shields at all with his base powers. So we're going to want to build him for shields and adaptation. I can see a quick thinking build working on him because of his second ability that I'll get into later. But for the most part, shields and adaptation makes him the tankiest as far as by playtime goes. So take that as you will. His first ability, Mock Rush, is the one you're going to be using the most as far as melee Gauss goes. And this ability pairs very well with high damage, high range sort of weapon. And in my case, I'm using the Grand Prime, but you can use whatever you want, though Heavy Blades I feel like work the best with a melee Gauss. On top of that, if you have Redline active and use this ability, the energy cost is reduced by half. So that makes it even more spammable. Plus the second ability, there's actually a lot to this ability. So what it does is it gives him a damage reduction that scales all the way up to 100%, as well as gives him energy when he's hit with this ability up. It doesn't have to be health like with a rage, so you can take hits while your shields are up and it will give you energy. But it does drain your battery pretty fast. But in my playtime, I found that it's totally manageable considering that the amount of times I spam my one. On top of that, when you have Redline active, you're able to get that 100% damage reduction with your batteries at 100%, as well as double base melee damage and guaranteed staggers when this is active. The next ability is Thermal Sunder. A lot of people will say this ability is useless, but the higher level enemies you fight, the more and more useful this ability becomes. So what it does is it procs cold on everybody, or if you hold it, it can proc heat, and if you combine the two, it procs blast. And with Redline up, it freezes the enemies solid with the cold proc, and it ignites the enemies with the heat proc. And the blast proc reduces the enemy armor equal to your Redline, but it caps at 50%. You're not really going to be using this ability for its damage, but rather for its status procs and other nuances. And finally, Redline. Redline just is your sustained DPS buff. It increases your fire rate, attack speed, reload speed, and holster speed, as well as it shoots missiles everywhere, which stagger the enemy, and on top of that, it makes all of your other abilities better. So basically you want to have this up all the time. There's no downside to not having it up. Even if your battery is completely drained, you still get the benefits from this ability. So with all that said, he's got a lot going for him as far as a melee build goes. Extra damage, armor strip, condition overload procs, damage reduction, instantly closing the gap, and extra attack speed. Works really, really well in Gauss's favor. For melee Gauss, here's the build I'm running. I'm running Corrosive Projection, as well as Prime Continuity and Narrow Minded as my duration. We're running Redirection, Adaptation, and Antitoxin. And what this does with Antitoxin is as soon as I get one single stack of adaptation, I'm completely immune to toxin damage. So that fixes our problem with our second ability where it doesn't block toxin or slash procs. So now that if I get even a touch with toxin damage, I'm completely immune to it. Now sadly we don't have a slash resistance mod at all. It'd be really nice if we did have one, but adaptation is the only thing we got as far as physical damage goes. So that's about as good as it's gonna get. Efficiency is a must because you're gonna be using your one a lot. And I do have some range in the form of stretch, and I was gonna put cunning drift in the Exo slot, but I gotta change the polarity on that. And Gauss is also a good frame to put an aura form on, believe it or not, because there's a lot of auras that work well with him. Steel Charge, for instance, is pretty good on Gauss, as well as toxin resistance. This basically means that you don't have to put anti-toxin on your build if you want to be completely invincible to toxin, and you can choose something else in that slot, but of course that takes up your aura slot. And as far as arcanes go, personally I prefer Arcane Nullifier for when I'm doing like anything that involves magnetic at all. It's just there to keep me safe because I'm running a shield heavy build instead of a health heavy build. And since Gauss can't generate shields or overshield with any of his abilities, we have to run shields. Arcane Nullifier makes it so that they can't have our shields basically and take away all of our energy. But even if they do hit us and say like it doesn't take away all of our energy, we can fall back on Connect Plating, and with Connect Plating, getting hit gives us back energy. Now onto the Grand Prime. This is what I'm running. I'm running Pressure Point and Prime Fury for damage and attack speed, Condition Overload, and Blood Rush for damage. I'm running Corrosive in the dual stats, and I'm running Berserker, as well as a Range Heat Riven. Now, if you don't have a Riven, then you should run Prime Reach here. And believe it or not, you don't really need combo with a melee Gauss, because like you're closing the gap so fast that combo does not really matter. And even when you would lose, like say combo, you'll probably lose it anyways if you did have combo duration on, because there are like literally no enemies in sight for a while. So combo isn't that really important with melee Gauss. Anyway guys, that's all for me. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.